Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Brought to you by the phenomenal people at Water Cleanup of Florida. It's not only myself, but my wife now is singing the praises of Water Cleanup of Florida, talking to my mother, of all people, just telling her. Because, look, all of us have dealt with different service providers when it comes to home ownership, when it comes to even whatever, cars, just in life. You have issues with things, and you go to someone to help you out. And they let you down. They either don't get back to you, or when they do get back to you, it's not on the time they said they would. And then when they do the work, they don't do the job that you thought they would do, and they're not accountable. We've all dealt with that. What's cool about Water Cleanup of Florida is they are everything you think they would be and more. Everything I've said about them for the last few months is 100% on point. They met any expectation we could have and soared way past it. The fact that you can reach them 24/7. The fact that when you solicit their services, they are there whenever you need them. Not only they came out and made sure the job was done. My complex didn't hold up their end of the bargain. Well, instead of just leaving me high and dry, literally, they came back out, saw whatever issues were still there, and made sure the job got done properly. We've had to deal with our association. They have not been on the up and up. They have not treated us well. Thank goodness Water Cleanup of Florida has. The reason we're still smiling every time we go in and out of our home and every time we sitting in that house is because of Water Cleanup of Florida. Michael, Robert, their team has done a tremendous job. Whenever you reach out to them, they get right back to you. Whenever you have a problem, they're there for you. Whenever they come out and handle an issue, it is done efficiently, effectively, quickly. Something that I really have never faced when I was working with someone, when someone was doing work on our home. Water Cleanup of Florida is everything they're cracked up to be and more. I'm so proud to be with them and so appreciative of the work they have done with us. Michael personally coming out and checking out. Michael personally dealing with our issues. If you ever have anything with your home, water, fire, mold issues, Water Cleanup of Florida should be your first call, and they will make your life so much easier. Just give them that call. 954-579-0356. 954-579-0356. You can reach them 24/7, and they will get back to you, and they will help you out. Also, WCUFL.com, WCUFL.com, phone or website. You reach out to them, mention 5 Reasons or Lubie when you give them a call, and you get a free inspection. Also, check them out on their socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at WCUFL, at WCUFL. Water Cleanup of Florida, they truly will clean up your schmutz. The NBA's sort of in a holding pattern. The Nets now talking about they may just keep Durant. Well, obviously, you'd rather keep Durant. You never wanted to trade Durant. Durant wanted out. Okay, well, Durant has gotten a little quiet. The Nets aren't seeing the offers they want. So right now, that's in a holding pattern. Donovan Mitchell, supposedly signed, still delivered to the New York Knicks. Well, that hasn't happened yet either. We talk about Donovan Mitchell. We talk about Kevin Durant. We talk about some other things with the Miami Heat right now with Heavy.com NBA writer, reporter, and author Sean Deveney today on the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, speaking of money, when it comes to money reporting and the NBA, there's nobody more spot on this beat than Sean Deveney, who's frequently joined us on our programs. He's with Heavy.com right now, wrote basketball for Sports Illustrated, many other prominent organizations, and it's always a pleasure to have him on the show. Sean, how are you this fine morning?
I'm doing well, Defo. How are you?
I'm good. You know, I'm bitching about everything, the money I lost over the weekend. Colin Morikawa, I don't know if you're a golf fan, not making the cut at the British Open probably cost me $5,000 as I would have just slaughtered this golf pool that I was in. So a lot of complaining, going on. How have you been? I mean, are you immersed? How seriously or how observant are you of this NBA Summer League, which all of a sudden is saturating all ESPN networks? I don't think you can dodge a game, and yet it's very hard to identify a single player on the rosters of these teams. How much do you dive into that, Sean Deveney?
Yeah, I was out there for a little bit, and, one of the things that you notice is there's a lot of GMs, there's a lot of coaches, and, they'll spend time watching their own teams, but other than that, they don't spend a lot of time watching games. They're all just sitting chatting with each other, eating hot dogs. So,
yeah.
I think that their opinion of the quality of basketball is similar to the rest of us. It's not the best stuff you're going to see. But Obviously some young guys, getting a chance to make an impression. Some guys who are sort of clinging to the last shreds of a career, trying to make an impression as well. So it's always interesting to see, what winds up coming out of it. For the guys who impress you while you're there, and then wind up not getting a deal or wind up getting a deal in the end.
I don't know that I need to see it, dominating like primetime television on sports channels, the NBA Summer League. But it is interesting, and I like those kind of stories. I imagine you do too, of the young guy that was completely overlooked, and somehow he gets out there, he gets in an early game in garbage time, somehow ends up impressing the coaches and makes it to the NBA, or conversely, an aging veteran who, maybe gets another year contract, because he looked like he could still function. What have you seen? I mean, outside of the guys that obviously the top few players in the draft, Holmgren got attention, and Jabari Smith, and of course Benchero. But did you see anybody that like kind of came out of the woodwork there that impressed you, or is there any talk about that kind of player?
Yeah, certainly Cam Thomas from the Nets was one of the top scorers in the summer league, and we've seen some flashes from him last year. They are hopeful that he can be a factor, especially if they wind up clearing the decks of Durant and Kyrie Irving. So he was certainly impressive. I thought the number 4 pick, and that's not exactly calling out of the woodwork, but Keegan Murray from Iowa, chosen by the Kings, and it was a pretty controversial pick. Jaden Ivey was still on the board. They had the opportunity to make some trades. They went with Keegan Murray, was sort of seen as a safe player, but he was fantastic, and he really did look good. And for a Kings organization that hasn't had a whole lot go right for it, that was worth the worth the price of admission over the last couple of weeks there. So. So some guys that stand out. Calvin Gailey from Florida State wanted to get in a contract with the Celtics because he played as well as he did. That's the kind of story of he's 25, he's kind of on the last chance to get himself with the team, and really did play well, showed a lot of improvement. So he's a guy who could wind up sticking in the NBA for a few years after really squandering his first couple of opportunities.
Sean, you brought up the Nets. They've been in the news not for their summer league, but for the idea of both their superstars possibly being gone. However, over the weekend, the news sort of was, and it's not shocking to me, but the news was, well, they may hold on to Durant. Well, duh. I mean, to me, it's obvious that they'd like to hold on to Durant. It was never like that was what was weird to me. It was like, well, duh, of course they'd want to hold on to Durant. The idea was Durant wants out. So how much say does Durant have? Because supposedly Durant's the one that wanted out, but they haven't liked any of the packages, so they may keep him. Well, obviously they want to keep him. Like, how much say does Durant have in this? Because it seems like he wants out, and the Nets are sort of not obliging him.
Yeah, I think the Nets are making a good faith effort to try to find a package for him, but nothing's emerged that's really gotten them interested. I think part of the problem is this goes to Durant. And if you're going to make a trade demand 2 hours before the start of free agency, the way he did on June 30th, you can't expect there to be teams lined up with you're a week after the draft, and teams could have done a lot more to get their ducks in a row to make an offer at the draft. There are other ways to have handled that for Kevin Durant. So if it's hard for the Nets to find a package at this point, part of that is on Durant and the timing of all this. There's that aspect. I think the other thing though is that they don't want to come back next season with Kevin Durant unhappy and have him on the roster and Kyrie Irving. They don't necessarily want to do that. I think they would because they know that Kevin Durant's not Ben Simmons. He's not going to dog it. He's not going to sit out. He wants to play basketball. He's getting to the end of his career. If he's with the Nets, he's going to give 100%. But at the same time, they want to make a move here. They want to move on from this. They don't want to be in a situation where they're bringing back a guy who doesn't want to be there. So, they would be comfortable with it. It's not what their preferred outcome would be. And I think they'll continue to try to find a deal and probably will in the end.
It seems like a lot of that conversation has cooled, and in the meantime, very much in focus is Donovan Mitchell, and the idea that he will be available in another one of these sort of mega package deals. All of the conversation. I don't know if you follow, the New York paper, Sean Deveney, but wow, I get the New York Post every day. He's already in a Knicks uniform. So a couple of things come up. I mean, is that a good move for the Knicks? They have, as Lubie mentioned earlier in the program, like 100 draft picks in the next few years. They've been staggering to find an identity there and become, the number one draw in New York. While all of this infighting is going on with the Brooklyn Nets, and they failed to score a championship, even though they had at one time Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden, where it looked like they might be a cinch, but. Do you see this Mitchell deal taking place? Does he end up in New York? And where in the background is Pat Riley lurking, if at all, in both the pursuit of Durant and Mitchell?
Well, yeah, to start with Pat Riley, I think, he's in the same position that a lot of other teams are in. When you're trying to build a team and teams are asking for the number of draft picks that they're asking for these days, it becomes really difficult. So, if you're the Lakers, they've got 2 draft picks available to trade. Miami, I think, maybe has 3, but none in the immediate future. They're more down the line picks. And these teams are coming out and asking for picks in return for these star players. And you just don't have them, because Miami's already made trades for, whether it's Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry, and you lose picks as all this goes on, and that's it. You don't have anything to offer. So the Heat are trying to find ways to bring in some added draft picks so that they can get involved in these trades. If they can't do it, they're not going to be able to get into these. So that's sort of where they're sitting right now. But the Knicks certainly are in position to play hardball with the Jazz, and the Jazz are doing likewise. It's going to take a while because, they want to make sure when you're trading away a guy like Donovan Mitchell, certainly when you're trading away a guy like Kevin Durant, you want to make sure you're getting as much as you possibly can. And I know a lot of people are getting impatient, but I always say, you think back to when Kevin Love got traded from Minnesota. That happened, I believe it was August 7th. It was early in August. The Kyrie Irving trade in 2017. That took place in mid-August. Kevin Garnett, when he was traded from Minnesota to Boston, that was July 31st. So, yeah, I know people get kind of tired of talking about this, but just go on another 2 weeks at least. That's if you look at the history of these things, then teams are going to be patient.
Sean, and I was going to talk about the Heat. That was the news over the weekend from the Heat standpoint is, to me, it felt like you sort of just move on. Riley doesn't move on. Like, the destination seems like the Knicks. Riley's like, well, so that was the news of the weekend was the Heat are trying to get a draft pick, and then that way they can, I think, offer 3. If they can get a 13-man, they can offer up to 3 to 4 draft picks, plus Robinson and Hero, maybe some other guys. But let me ask you, you just made it seem like you sort of feel like, yeah, it may not happen today, but it's going to happen. Do you think both, or at least one of these 2 guys, Durant or Mitchell, moves this summer? Because it feels like the Jazz and the Nets are going to take their time, and they really can. I mean, both guys have 3 and 4 years left on their deal. Like, do you see this going into the season, or this will be done, you think, well before the season?
I think there's no question that Donovan Mitchell gets traded,
Okay.
because you do have an interested party with the Knicks who can eventually put together the right package, and they've come close. It's just a matter of haggling now. And again, that's not to say another team couldn't come in with an offer, but he's going to move one way or the other, just because at the very least, that the Knicks can make a suitable offer for him. So I think you start with Mitchell. The Durant's a much tougher, that's a much tougher deal because he's older. He's 34, so some teams are a little hesitant to give up too much for a guy like that. Maybe the Warriors decide, okay, let's go all in and bring him back. I know that there's strong sentiment in that organization to not do that. I think if there was a chance that Durant wound up in Phoenix, then I think you'd see Golden State step in and try to make an offer to keep him from going to Phoenix. But anywhere else, I think they'd be pretty much okay with that. So, I think, again, Durant's just a much tougher case to find the right package and to find the right deal. But I think there's no question that Donovan Mitchell does get moved.
Excellent stuff as always. Sean Deveney, Heavy.com is where you can find his work. Longtime NBA writer. And, a very, very valid point about these blockbuster transactions usually taking place later in the off season than people are just foaming at the mouth. It seems every second you're seeing 6 guys analyzing where Kevin Durant is going on TV, and you're thinking how much speculation can you actually spread around out there before something actually happens. So a lot to shake out. We appreciate your insight on NBA basketball always, and looking forward to talking to you again real soon. Thanks so much for being with us, Sean Deveney of Heavy.com.
Okay, thank you, guys.
All right, Sean, thanks, man.
Thanks a lot.
All righty, so Sean Deveney sort of agrees that Kevin Durant may or may not go. The Nets aren't in a rush. The Nets have 4 years left on that deal, and the Nets didn't want to get rid of him in the first place. So if they don't find the right deal, they're not rushing to get rid of Durant. So Durant may be there going into the season. However, Donovan Mitchell's a guy that seems to be in a holding pattern. Sean Deveney doesn't believe that's the case. He believes he will be traded. Yeah, right now the Knicks seem to be in the front runner as they can offer up the best deal for the Utah Jazz, and they're looking for a ton of draft picks, and the Knicks have it. However, the Miami Heat this weekend, it was rumored, it was talked about, it was reported, they're trying to get a draft pick badly. And Sean Deveney talked about how they could possibly get a draft pick. And what that would do if they can bring in a team like Oklahoma City and package 3 to 4 picks, then they, with a Duncan Robinson and a Hero and a Gabe Vincent or a Strus, that seems like the kind of deal the Jazz could be interested in. So the Heat aren't out of it. And even though we're getting a little impatient because nothing's happening, it seems like in the next month you will see Donovan Mitchell moved. Will it be the Heat? Will it be the Knicks? Who knows? I think the Heat are good either way. I'd like to get Durant. I'd like to get Mitchell. They also were a team that was one shot away from the finals, and like 6 guys were hurt. So Hero, healthy, and better, as we've seen him get almost every year, grow every year. Bam has improved every single season. Why couldn't he continue to improve? Some of these young guys, your 7, Vincent, Strus, Martin, should only improve this season. And Oladipo is the one that I'm most excited about, a guy that his issue was injury. Well, he looked healthy in the playoffs. He just hadn't played. You give him a healthy offseason to work on his offense. He has a deal with the Heat, but it's also not the deal he wants. He's still late 20s, early 30s, so he has a lot of life left. Why can't he go and improve and become that all-star player again? Kyle Lowry already has heeded Pat Riley's words. Riley called him out. It's been like a month since the season ended, and Lowry, they showed clips of him practicing. Looks like a different dude. Looks like he's lost weight already. Just think what he could be. So to me, the Heat are in prime position either way. If they get one of these guys, yeah, they're the favorite in the East. If they don't, fine. You want to say the Bucks and the Celtics are a notch ahead of them, favored-wise? Sure. But this team, I wouldn't count them out. Plus, Jimmy Butler, with this group, they played together. They know how to play, and they've gone far into the playoffs now 2 out of the last 3 years. I think they're in a great position no matter what they do. We'll see what happens in this next month. We'll talk more about the Miami Heat, the Miami Dolphins, all things South Florida sports. Check us out each and every morning on the Defo Show with Lubie. South Florida Live. YouTube, Google. Even check us out on Facebook, South Florida Live. YouTube, Facebook, Google, the Defo Show with Lubie. Also, we have our national podcast on the Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And each and every day, our South Florida content right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.